We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this College Football Rebel Outpost channel with a donation to help us keep the lights on. Hit that $sign where you make a comment and we'll get you a super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome, everybody. One and all, welcome into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Today is Big Ten Order of Finish prediction by Greg the Heater. And you know, I never get any of my predictions wrong. I'm going to nail it. I'm going to go 18 for 18. I do have a 5-6 car pileup in the middle of the Big Ten. I've got about 4 or 5 teams going 8-4, and the tiebreakers will decide the order of finish. I've broken down the numbers. I've broken down the tiebreakers, which, by the way, I don't think the Big Ten has released yet. So I've been just caught in a lie because I just told you I broke down all the tiebreakers. Anyways, so we're going to do that. Also, EA Sports, the video game that you all are waiting for, they put out their toughest home field advantages within the game. Remember, in this EA Sports game 2025, you're going to have wear and tear on your players. So you're going to have to switch them in and out. You're going to have to have different offensive packages and defensive packages. Also, home field advantage is going to play a part in the game. If you are on the road and you're playing at the big house, it's going to be a lot different than playing at Ryan Field, for example. So in the game, well, it was released today, the top 25 home field advantages built into the game. However, before we came on live, we've learned that can and will be adjusted. It could be, I should say, adjusted before the season starts. Or it can be adjusted, something like that. We'll go through that. And also, just to take a little dip into the pool, we're going to just talk a little bit about the ACC drama. I'm probably, at this point, the only person who is saying, who is willing to go out on that limb, the fat guy from Minnesota, the branch might break off. But I think I'm probably the only one who's saying the Big Ten is not having meaningful conversations with ACC schools. I got that reconfirmed again. So most of the conversation right now when it comes to the ACC drama, if you peruse X, if you peruse the message boards, it's all about everything as either everything has been decided or the Big Ten knows exactly what they're doing and everybody knows exactly where they're going because they're having talks. It's all coordinated, Greg. It's all been done. Is there a chance? Is there a chance that ESPN and SEC and the ACC are challenging, are doing an end run around market allocation? Are they going to try to make everybody whole? Are they going to try to have their own negotiations in-house? Getting Boston College and Wake Forest and those ACC schools to acquiesce and say, okay, we'll talk, but we need security, we need to be made whole, we need to get as much money as the Big 12 schools for as long as the eye can see. We need assurances. And then, maybe then we can decide on how much money would take a Florida State, a Clemson, a North Carolina, a Virginia, possibly a couple other schools to leave the ACC. But only then can we really have talks. If we get our money, if we get our security, if we get our assurances, if you need to draw up a new ESPN media deal, sure, we'll talk. Is there a chance that whole big circle is talking, trying to coordinate something? Yeah. There's a chance that's happening. I don't have that information. I highly doubt there might be, if it's happening, there might be a handful of people who have that information. I do not. I can't rule it out. I definitely cannot rule it in. As I said in my little video on my X account, a lot of doors are locked to peek around the corner on this story. We're trying to unlock them. We're looking through the keyhole. There's a chance that's happening. But there is no chance that the Big Ten is sitting down with Clemson and Florida State, sitting down with North Carolina, Virginia, sitting down with Miami, Georgia Tech. They can talk to Notre Dame, obviously. They're always talking to Notre Dame. But they're not having meaningful conversations. They're just not. It is legally impossible to talk to schools that don't know where their media rights are, don't know when they're going to be able to grab their media rights. It's just, so I'm just telling you where we stand here at Peek Around the Corner. I want there to be clarity. While there are doors locked to us, at least I can give you clarity on where Peek Around the Corner stands. Could there be some coordinated, controlled demolition that is involving the SEC, ACC, ESPN, and a bunch of lawyers? Possibly. Possibly. But we have been told it's one of the reasons, just one of the reasons, we rip down the odds on the Any Given Saturday Sportsbook that sits on Kurt Gowdy Avenue. It's one of the reasons why we ripped down the odds that were stating Florida State, Clemson, Big Ten, North Carolina, Virginia to the SEC, because in regards to the Big Ten, they haven't even, not only have they not gone down that road, they haven't even started the car. They haven't started. Do they have an expansion list? Of course they do. They've had an expansion list. Jim Delaney passed it down to Kevin Warren, tweaks it, changes it a little bit, goes to Tony Petitti, obviously. Have schools been vetted? Certain amount of information that is out there, public information? Of course. Have any of these schools besides Notre Dame been vetted and cleared? Nope. So there is a lot of stories out there. I read them. People send them to me. I should not say reported stories. I should just say people drawing up conclusions, and it just isn't happening. From the Big Ten standpoint, it is not happening. Now, Greg, how do you know? Well, you know what? I guess there's a chance we could be wrong. And if we are, we're going to take the L. But the Big Ten has not started the car. They don't even have the key in the ignition because the legal counsel of the Big Ten have taken the keys away from Tony Petitti. In regards to the ACC at this time. I want to thank everybody who's come on in to the PATC chat at the beginning of our show. I do appreciate it. Then we're going to get into it. We're going to start with the Big Ten prediction. Order of finish. Buckle up, brace for impact. Again, a whole lot of people are going to get upset with me. This is anger day. A whole lot of Big Ten fans. Oh, I'm going to hear it. I am going to hear it. Patrick is in the house. Lee, go Gators. Matt Higgins, crab cakes and football. Terps top 6. I can't do it, crab cakes and football. I cannot do it. Does Maryland get into the top 12? We'll see. We'll see. Larry the GM is in the house. Kay Struthers is in the house. Caleb Ramirez, Humble Bumble Duck, Ray, Buckeyes, Big Ten champs. We shall see. Buckshot Kid is in the house. Tracy FSU grad 03, Gold Nose, Jared Jones, Amy S, Jay Chapman, Jeff Morgan, David is here. John Till is here. Nice to see John again. Randy Taylor, Joaquin Morales, the Evil Badger, Jeff Olson. The Evil Badger, Jeff Olson. You better pay attention. You better pay attention to this show, my man. My good friend, Jeff Olson. You better pay attention and learn. Chad Bracey is in the house. The Architect, Richard L., Mr. Colorado Buffalo, Kate Skaven, yes, Chris Kenny, Go Cats, Jay Chapman, LFG, Stephen Clark is here, Yolanda Green, Florida State to the Big Ten. That may happen. That may happen. But I can clearly, without reservation, report to you no meaningful talks have happened at this point between the Seminoles and the Big Ten. I know a lot of people say there is. People are sending me messages. People are taking me pictures and my DM is full. Every time I get off a live show, it's full. I see it all. I've got 2 accounts. No, I got 3. I've got a YouTube account, which is obviously Greg Flugar. I've got one X account at Flug Empire, and I've got a Minnesota 247 account. I don't need any other accounts. People are sending me information all the time, and I thank you very much. I get it. People think it's all done. It's not all done. Not from the Big Ten's point of view. Immaculate is in the house. He says Iowa number 4. I don't know. I don't have them at number 4. Daniel is in the house. John Bennett is here. Anthony Carlson is here. James Foster, Don Scruggs. Ricky is here. Rock and Rant is in the house. Dale Simmons, N.E. Juan Carlos, Whoa Nelly, Jen Fari, Dale Simmons, CFB Plus. No first party talk, but what about third party? Sure, third party, but third party is extremely limited. There's only so much you can do with third party talks. You can get some evaluations, which is important. But there has not been meaningful talks. We'll get into it. But just remember, Florida State and Clemson have said the same thing. Their lawyers have said the same thing. In their pleadings, they have said the same thing. So if you believe Florida State has had meaningful talks with the Big Ten, then you are also saying Florida State is lying in the court. And I'm going to tell you something. Florida State is not lying. Clemson is not lying. So if you think this is all done, all settled, if you think Florida State has an offer, an official offer, that they've been approved by everybody, Big Ten presidents, Fox, and they're number 19. If you believe all that, then you are also admitting that Florida State is lying to the courts. Florida State's not lying. I'm not lying. Just someone's got to say it. Someone has to say it. Someone has to be the incredible, unpopular one. And I guess that's my job. Ricky's in the house. Movie Time Blues is here. Steel Austin is in the house. Rob White, Gen X Pop Culture. Could Clemson and Florida State go to the Big 12? I think it's highly, 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 highly unlikely. Extremely unlikely. Then go to the Big 10, the SEC. I think it's unlikely they end up in the Big 12 at all. Come on, man. You're playing on words here. No one believes that any school has had first-party talks with any. Nobody believes that, huh, Lee? There are whole message boards committed to the idea that all this is done and settled, and there's an offer on the table, and everybody knows it. There are whole threads of like thousands and thousands of posts dedicated, committed to that idea. Lee. Dr. L. Smith is in the house. Marketechs is here. Iowa's going to need to score more than 40 points a game to be a top 4. Wow. Matthew Farmer is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. By the way, Greg, I did not die from the chemical cloud in Buckeye. I'm glad you are here, Tuffy Duffy. I expected you did not die because you came into the studio here at Peek Around the Corner. Vox Quindaro, you are not late. You're just on time. Adrian Rodriguez from Kansas. Thanks for coming on in. Chris Kenny, thank you for coming on in. Okay, here we go. We're doing it. First, we're going to dive in to the PATC. PATC. Big Ten order of finish. Lock it in. Lock it in. 18th. So far, what am I? 33 of 33? We've done the Big 12 and the ACC. If you missed those live shows, we did the prediction on the order of finish. They were last 2 weeks, last 2 Mondays. We couldn't get it done yesterday. The little general and I went to a pool. We did some swimming. No, I did not cause a tsunami. I did not cause a tsunami. The pool was too small. So we did not do the live show yesterday, but we're doing it today. The heater's on. No question about it. No question about it. Here we go. Number 18. Somebody's got to be 18. Somebody has to be 18. This is a new conference, the Big Ten. Bringing in 4 teams. No, it's no longer your last place, so you're 14. Now you are 18. Holy smokes. I had to do it to somebody. Number 18, the Fighting Illini. Luke Altmaier. Now, if he can just step up, raise his game a couple levels, maybe they can get out of the basement. Threw for 1,800 yards last year, 13 touchdowns. He also ran for almost 300 yards. They lost the running back, Reggie Love. They lost Reggie Love. He transferred and he went to Purdue. Caden Fagan, Josh McCray is still there, the tough running back. But Reggie Love was the straw that stirred the drink. The left side of the O-line is concerning. I know it's Brett Bielema, but there is a mystery on the left side of the O-line. The wide receiver room is weak. We don't really know Pat Bryant. We don't really know. They lost Newton and Randolph. 2 great defensive linemen, especially Newton, the great defensive tackle. He's going to be fantastic in the NFL. They have lost so much. Tyler Strain is the leader on the defense, the cornerback. They were 5-7 last year, Illinois. They have a home game against Kansas. Now, I always take a couple early season games. I don't go through the whole schedule. I'm just pointing out a couple early games so you kind of get a sense of what, after these first couple of games, where does this team stand? Now, they got a home game against Kansas. And I've got Kansas finishing number 4 in the Big 12. So I expect the Kansas to go down there and beat Illinois. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I got Illinois playing at Nebraska, September 21st. And you all know I've got Nebraska going 8-4. Not 9-3, not 7-5, 8-4 for the Cornhuskers. So, again, can Illinois surprise us early in the season? Early in the season. We shall see, but they've lost a lot. They have lost a lot, and I don't think they gained anything back. Number 17. The Purdue Boilermakers. Now even though they're 17, this is a very interesting squad. Second year for head coach Ryan Walters. I think he's changing Purdue in his own image. They're no more, it's going to take a while. They're not going to be Jeff Brom's team anymore. Last year was still a little bit Jeff Brom. This year, it's not. They're going to be more physical. They're not going to be the finesse team out of the state of Indiana. Dylan Tinneman, the guy you see before you, all freshman All-American, the great safety. He was absolutely spectacular last year. Number 31. He's the star of the team. He's got at least 2 more years at Purdue. Hudson Card, we keep hearing about quarterback Hudson Card. We keep hearing that he's got muscle. He's put on muscle. Hudson Card, over 2,300 yards passing. 13 touchdowns, something like that. Almost 60% completion percentage. Devin Maccabee, the running back, got to get him back to where he was 2 years ago. But they've also got running back Reggie Love, what I just talked about, the transfer from Illinois. This is Purdue's biggest offensive line ever, and it's not even close. Again, Ryan Walters is changing it up at Purdue. He's changing the offense. C.J. Smith, what are we going to get out of C.J. Smith, the wide receiver? He might be the fastest guy in college football. Can they get him the ball? Now, why do I have Purdue number 17? Well, they lost Nick Scorton, and I've talked about him many, many times. He's with Texas A&M. He's got that first game against Notre Dame. Notre Dame better buckle up because Nick Scorton is a coming for the Texas A&M Aggies. They lost Nick. They had to move Kydron Jenkins to linebacker. They believe in Will Helt. He could become a superstar. He might be able to replace Nick Scorton. They got a couple of good tight ends, but they've lost a lot on defense. And their offense, the wide receivers, this is not your Jeff Brom's wide receiver room. It's a bit weak. I've got Purdue 17. I think it's going to take a while. They got a home game against the Fighting Irish September 14th. They're at home against Nebraska September 28th. Those are 2 important home games in the first month of the season. Can they win one of those games? Can they pull off the upset and win both those games? I've got Purdue number 17, number 16. Number 16, new head coach Kirk Cignetti, Indiana Hoosiers. Donovan McNully, the wide receiver. You see before you, he wanted to go into the portal. He wanted to go. He wanted to transfer. And the new coach brought him back in. That was a big victory. Justice Ellison, 548 yards on the ground, 4.6 yards per rush. He's back. The quarterback, Curtis Rourke. You've heard me talk about Curtis Rourke. The Ohio Bobcats. A couple years ago, he was the MAC Player of the Year. He got a bad knee injury. He took all last year to recover. He did play, but he wasn't 100%. He's 100% now. Indiana Hoosiers, they lost Sorsby, who I thought was a really up-and-coming quarterback. He's going to Cincinnati. I think he's going to do very well with the Bearcats, but Curtis Rourke is a good replacement for Indiana. The O-line, the offensive line, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear his name, Carter Smith. He was a brilliant freshman last year. True freshman, I believe. He played all the games. He leads the offensive line. On defense, they got a whole bunch of transfers from James Madison. Multiple transfers from James Madison. Coming with the head coach. We'll see how that works. Jamari Sharp leads the secondary, good cornerback. Toomer, great, really good safety coming from Stanford. They start the season at UCLA September 14th. Home against Maryland September 28th. If Indiana wants to crack and get into the middle of the Big Ten, they can start by beating the Terps at home at Maryland September 28th. I've got Indiana, number 16. But there is a lot of NIL money pumping into that program. There's a lot of optimism pumping into that program. Hoosier fans are excited for this season. Number 15, Northwestern. Cam Porter, the man you see before you. A tough running back, but he's going to have to elevate his play just a little bit. He ran for 651 yards, but only 3.9 yards per average. When I look at Northwestern's roster, it is an 18-17 type of Big Ten finish. But I've got them number 15. They lost a lot from last year. They went 8-5 last year, which was a spectacular job by then interim head coach David Braun. Of course, now he's your head coach. He did an absolute brilliant job of head coaching. But they lost the quarterback, Brendan Sullivan, in the portal. That should be their quarterback this year. There is an absolute mystery at quarterback. Ryan Helinski, he has not done it. He's not that switch has not been flipped. Jack Losh, the Northwestern's quarterback situation, I'm trying to be kind. It's dangerously not very good. Not very good. Marshall Long and Thomas Gordon are decent, good tight ends. The wide receiver room is led by Bryce Kurtz. He's been there forever. A.J. Hennings. You've heard of A.J. Hennings. But again, real no stars, real nothing there. I've got Northwestern going. Now, one really interesting part of this is David Braun Braun has brought in Zach Lujan, the offensive coordinator from the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Two-time defending, reigning, undisputed FCS champions, South Dakota State Jackrabbits. And I can tell you that this offensive coordinator that Northwestern is bringing in, even though he's only 28 years old, he's already got an incredible reputation of confusing the defense. Northwestern, I don't really think they have a legit quarterback. I think their wide receiver room is incredibly weak. But they're going to show you a whole bunch of motion. They're going to be shifting pre-snap. They're going to get you confused. As the season goes on, I think Northwestern is going to get better and better and better. And then we'll see what talent they bring in next year, in the year after that, in the year after that, as they build their new football stadium. Money's coming into the program. But right now, I have to have Northwestern, number 15. Number 14, the UCLA Bruins, first year in the Big Ten. Running back TJ Harden. TJ Harden, 827 yards, 5.3 yards per rush, 8 touchdowns, a real good running back. Big Ten teams, Big Ten fans, you got to learn who TJ Harden is. Ethan Garbers, the quarterback, pretty good last year. Finally got some playing time, and I think he's the guy this year, no question about it. Threw for 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 67% completion rate, 67%. And who did new head coach, first year head coach, Deshaun Foster, who did he bring in for the offensive coordinator position? Can anybody tell me in the chat room? Can anybody tell me who the UCLA Bruins have as their offensive coordinator? Remember, Chip Kelly, the head coach, left UCLA and he went on. Now he's the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I'll tell you who UCLA's offensive coordinator is. It's Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy. Remember that name. You all know who he is. Offensive coordinator in the NFL. They've got a pretty good offensive alignment. Pretty good offensive line. The wide receiver room a little bit weak. They got a couple decent linebackers who've been Devin Kirkwood and Medrano, who's been there forever. They lost their defensive coordinator, Anton Lynn, to USC. They lost the one person on the coaching staff who was producing, and of course, USC come in their neighborhood and plucked out defensive coordinator Anton Lynn. So that hurts the UCLA Bruins. They start December 21st at LSU, home against Oregon. I might have the date wrong on that LSU game, but they play at home Oregon early in the season. I've got UCLA, number 14. Number 13, the new head coach. A lot of these new head coaches, I've got the teams, kind of back in the pack. Number 13. Michigan State Spartans. The quarterback, Aiden Child. Now you got to be patient. Spartan fans. Let him play this year. Let him learn. Let him learn to read the defense. He's got live bullets coming after him. The little bit that he played for Oregon State, he was magnificent. 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 69% completion percentage. He can run. He's dynamic. Got to give him a chance. So just let him play. Michigan State went 4-8 last year. New head coach, Jonathan Smith. They're at Maryland, September 7th. Home against the Buckeyes, September 28th. The running back, Nate Carter, over almost 800 yards last year. Nick Marsh, the receiver that everybody is going to be watching with intensity in Spartanland. Nick Marsh, remember the name. What I really like about Michigan State this year, Jonathan Smith, the head coach, goes to Michigan State. He wants Aiden Childs. Aiden Childs comes because he wants to play for Jonathan Smith. And not only that, they grabbed the center from Oregon State. Tanner Miller is a transfer from Oregon State. The center, the quarterback, the coach, all willing to go to East Lansing. And then Michigan State. Of course, they lost a lot of guys on defense. It's the reason why I have Michigan State number 13 and no higher. They've lost their great linemen. They are depleted on defense. Middle linebacker Jordan Hall leads the team, but they've got a lot of rebuilding to do, and they've got the man to do it. Defensive coordinator Joe Rossi. He was absolutely brilliant at Minnesota. Absolutely brilliant at Minnesota. Joe Rossi, Michigan State's got the guy. But again, the Spartans have to be patient. Be patient. Watch. Let's see what happens in year one of Jonathan Smith. Number 12 in the Big Ten. PATC's Big Ten order of finish. Maryland. Roman Hemby, the running back who does it all for the Maryland Terrapins. 680 yards, 4.8 yards per rush, 38 catches. Holy smokes. But I got a question. Maryland fans, I've got a question. Now, you've got Caden Prather, the wide receiver, transferred from West Virginia a couple years ago. Incredibly talented. We know that. He caught over 40 balls last year. Taj Felton, another speedster, another Maryland receiver, caught over 40 balls last year. They've got Preston Howard, the tight end, he put his toes in the water. They're expecting big things out of Preston Howard. But who's going to throw them the ball? Cameron Edge? Is it going to be Edge, Edwards, or Morris? I asked that question in the spring. I still don't know. Who's going to be the quarterback. In fact, there's not going to be a quarterback. There's not going to be a QB1. I think there's going to be a QB1, QB2, QB3. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully Loxley pulls the right levers, punches the correct buttons at the right time. Look, Maryland has grown men on defense. The front seven are filled with upperclassmen. Quashawn Fuller, the defensive end. Now they had 3 defensive back starters that are gone. The secondary, questionable. We don't know. But the front seven is grown men. They've got some skill position guy. Roman Henby is a great running back. Wide receivers, but I don't know about their quarterback. I do not know about the quarterback position for Maryland. So, Maryland number 12, and we'll see how they start the season at home against Michigan State, September 7th. So I got Michigan State 13, Maryland 12. We'll see how that September 7th game goes at home against Michigan State, and then Maryland plays on the road at Indiana on September 28th. That's going to tell us a lot. Number 11. There's a lot of good and a lot of not so good for Team 11. That is the good. That is the great. Kyle Managai. I always screw up his last name. He is an absolute beast. He runs over everybody. He ran over the Hurricanes. Manungai is a beast. Manungai will run you over in the inside zone, on the outside zone read. Manungai, over 1,200 yards, 5.2 yards per rush. He is the real deal Holyfield. Now, Big Ten Ted is saying Rutgers at 11, they're at least 8. Well, they're not. Do you know why they're not 8? Do you know why they're not 9? Do you know why they're 10? Well, they're not 10. I don't know. That first of all, the wide receiver room, I'm not feeling it. Christian Dremel, I'm not feeling it. The quarterback, Ethan Kaliakmanis, the Greek rifle, he plays like he has his hair on fire. I've watched enough of Ethan Kaliakmanis. I've watched Ethan Kaliakmanis more than anybody in the chat. I've watched him in practice. I've watched him in games. Rutgers starts the season. Virginia Tech, September 21st. September 28th at home against Washington. Malcolm Ray, the defensive tackle, the transfer from Florida State. Hopefully he pops for Rutgers. The defense improved greatly last year. No question about it. They've got some veteran cornerback. They've got Michael Flip Dixon. Had another transfer from Minnesota, but he's good. Transferred a year ago. So they've got a lot of good stuff going for Rutgers. But the quarterback position, why it might improve a tick from last year. Once you see Ethan Kaliakmanis play against Virginia Tech, you all let me know in the chat room. You all let me know in the chat room. Number 10. The Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, this is the start of the next 5 teams. And I said this about a week ago. I've got 5 Big Ten teams going 8-4. So the next 5 teams, you got to separate them with the tiebreakers. Nebraska Cornhuskers, Dylan Raiola, and I am the true believer in this true freshman. Absolutely spectacular. Watch his high school tapes once he bounced around the country, because he played at many different high schools. He's an unbelievable talent. Now, he's a true freshman. But that O-line is old. They played a lot of snaps. But I'm going to tell you, they're not very good. They're just not very good. The center, Ben Scott, is good. But the left tackle is always injured. Ben Hart, Corcoran, There's a reason why Nebraska's offense, there's a couple reasons why Nebraska's offense has not been good the last so many years. Their offensive line has been below average in the Big Ten, and there's no reason for me to believe they're not going to be below average again this year. The running back, Gabe Irvin, Emmett Johnson, the transfer from Oregon, I don't know. I don't know. I have to see Nebraska established in RB1. In RB1, see if they can get the running game improved, because it hasn't been good. Thomas Fidone, he finally played last year. He played the whole season without getting injured. I expect him to have a big season this year. Malachi Coleman, the wide receiver, very talented. I think he's going to take a jump up. Jamal Banks, I think he's going to take a jump up. Nebraska's wide receiver room is rounded into form, and Dylan Raiola is, the straw that stirs the drink. The defense is going to be great. They were great last year. Tony White did an unbelievable job. 11th in the country on defense. Isaac Gifford, the rover, made play after play after play. The linebacker, John Bullock. Javin Wright, another linebacker. Ty Robinson, you know about him, the nose tackle. Coming back again this year. They are loaded up on defense. Most of them are back this year on defense. But the true freshman quarterback, running back room I'm not impressed with. And the offensive line I'm not impressed with. Nebraska home, Colorado, September 7th. At Purdue, September 28th. We're going to find out a lot about the Cornhuskers. When they play Colorado under the lights, NBC, number 9. Number 9. Number 9. My beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. I'm seeing a lot of people taking a lot of shots in the chat room. Bring it on. Bring it on. Last year, now I need people to listen. Last year, Vegas had the Gophers at 7.5 wins, and I predicted the Gophers to win 5 or 6 games. I had them well below the Vegas numbers. This year, and I was correct. And I said because they did not have the thoroughbreds in the secondary, they did not have the thoroughbreds in the back seven, they were depleted and they lost people in the portal. This year it's different. This year it's absolutely 180-degree different. The Gophers, Max Brosmere, the quarterback, there's a lot of doubts. But I'm running out of the doubts. I have never seen the reports coming out of Minnesota in my 56 years about a quarterback. He went down to Georgia and brought all his receivers with him last month. A Georgia 247 writer watched him play, watched him throw, and he said, this guy can play. Max Brosmere, I believe he's going to do great in his first and only season at Minnesota. He's already been named the captain of the team. He's already the leader. He was the FCS quarterback of the year, just like Cam Ward was before he went to Washington State. And you know who the guy that's on the screen before you is Darius Taylor. He won back-to-back Freshman of the Week award. And then he fought the injuries the rest of the year. Early in the season, he led the Big Ten in the nation. Early in the season, he was the best freshman running back. He still ran for 799 yards, 5.8 yards per rush, most of it on an injury. He's all healthy now. Fleck knows running backs. Minnesota has a grown offensive line. They've also got a grown defensive line. But the Minnesota Golden Gophers, in my estimation, might have the weakest wide receiver room in the Big Ten. Daniel Jackson, yes, 59 catches, 831 yards. Behind Daniel Jackson, Brockington, I like when I see him when he practices, but he's been injured. Tyler Williams, the big-time high school, the high 4-star recruit, Georgia. Transfer, he played 1 year as a true freshman at Georgia, came to Minnesota. That was a great get for Minnesota, but again, we haven't seen it. So the wide receiver room, there's going to be a lot of dunking and diving and a lot of short game passes. Gophers got guys out of the backfield who can catch the ball. They like their young tight ends. The defense is going to be better this year. Those linebackers, all those true freshman linebackers they played last year because of injuries, they're all back this year. Cody Lindenberg, the great linebacker, he is healthy. Ja Joyner, the defensive end rush, he's going to be a first or second round draft pick in the 2025 NFL draft. The secondary is a whole lot better than last year. They've got the all Big Ten kicker, Dragan Kesich, coming back. Of course, Minnesota is dreadful in the punt return game, in the kickoff return game, in defending the punt return game, and defending the kickoff return game. And their punter's not all that good either. So there is a lot of things going against Minnesota. But one of the things that is not going against Minnesota is the quarterback. Max Brosmer and Darius Taylor is a beast at running back. They start this season at North Carolina. At home, North Carolina, we're going to be doing a watch party. So for all of you who are taking shots now, come into the watch party. August 31st, Thursday night. Buckle up. Brace for impact, baby. And on September 21st, at home, against the Iowa Hawkeyes. We're going to try to keep the pig. We're going to try to keep the pig. Number 8. The evil Badgers of Wisconsin. They play at home against Alabama September 14th, at USC September 28th. Boy, those are two tough games right off the bat. They went 7-6 last year. Again, and I've said this over and over again. Jeff Olson, the evil Badger, tough schedule, no question about it. Ches Malusi, the great running back, he got injured last year, but he's healthy. He's going to be a beast. That's the man you see before him. That's the man you see before you. I'm sorry, on the screen. Ches is back. The quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke. You all know that I'm not a fan of Tyler Van Dyke. It's the reason I have Wisconsin at number 8 and not higher. Braden Locke, maybe he'll get his shot. But I think Tyler Van Dyke is going to start with it, and I think he is going to implode. The O-line has 3 returning starters. Wide receiver Will Paulding, 837 yards, 6 touchdowns. James Thompson, really good production on the defensive line. But then after that, on that defensive line, the Badgers were a disappointment. They got to be better on the D-line this year. They've got to be better if they want to challenge for the top 4 spots, top 5 spots in the Big Ten. They've got a deep and impressive secondary. Hunter Wohler, Ricardo Hallman. They've got players in the back 5, the back 4. They've got the players. Wisconsin has got a lot of talent. And the coach, Fickell, is bringing on more talent as we speak. The program, I think, is going to rise again after this year. But this year, I do not like the looks of Tyler Van Dyke being the quarterback of the Badgers, so I could not have them any higher than number 8. Number 7, the Washington Huskies. Again, I have all these teams going 8-4. This is all based on tiebreakers. The Washington Huskies, who is that before you on that screen? Who is that? Zach Durfee. Zach Durfee. A tantalizing defensive end edge rusher. He played at Sioux Falls. He absolutely dominated at that level. He didn't play much last year for Washington. Keep an eye, Mr. Zach from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Keep an eye on him. Also keep an eye on the Arizona transfer, another defensive edge rusher, Isaiah Ward. They've got some, and FCS transfer, defensive tackle, Sebastian Valdez. Washington's got some talent on defense that I think they're kind of sitting on, but a lot of people don't know. It's why I've got Washington going 8-4. Plus Will Rogers, the quarterback, has got over 12,000 yards career passing. Jed Fish, the new head coach coming on in. The running back, the transfer from Arizona, Jonah Coleman, I don't know how he's going to fare in the Big Ten. He was out last year, didn't play last year. The wide receiver room, of course, takes a dramatic hit. Jeremiah Hunter. The O-line is a complete mystery. I believe that Washington can get to 8 wins because I think they might have a surprisingly good defense. I think they might have a surprisingly good defense. Washington, September 28th at Rutgers, October 5th home against Michigan, October 12th at Iowa. Those are 3 tough games in a row. Rutgers, Michigan, Iowa. Welcome to the Big Ten, Washington. Welcome to the Big Ten. When you play the middle of the conference, you think it's an easy road, but it's not. It's going to be much more physical. Much more physical. Number 6, USC Trojans. 8-5 last year, defeated Louisville 42-28 in the Holiday Bowl. They start this season at home, LSU, and September 21st at Michigan. Quarterback Miller Moss. The transfer from UNLV might challenge later in the year, but it's going to be Miller Moss starting the season. Running back Woody Marks. The transfer from Mississippi State. You got to watch out for this guy. Mr. Marks, he ran for over 500 yards last year in the SEC. USC might have a pretty better running game than most people expect. Zachariah Branch, of course, getting his toes in the water last year. 31 catches, over 300 yards, great return man. And Deuce Robinson, the same thing. 16 catches, almost 22 yards per catch. There should be coming on this year. Good, young, developing talent at the wide receiver position. And of course, probably the most important acquisition USC got during the offseason was their new defensive coordinator, Anton Lynn. We all know that USC has got to get better on defense. And I think USC going down to UCLA and picking Mr. Lynn off is going to bear fruits for Lincoln Riley at some point. This year, though, if you look at the roster, you got Bear Alexander, you got Eric Gentry, linebacker. If you look at the roster, I'm not sure that USC, maybe USC can play just below average when it comes to defense in the Big Ten. They're going to have to put up the points to get to number 6. I think they will. I think USC will still finish about 6 in the Big Ten. Number 5. The Iowa Hawkeyes. 10-4 last year. Lost to Tennessee in the bowl game. They start the season, basically, first important game, September 7th against Iowa State in Iowa City. I've got the Cyclones beating the Hawkeyes. I'm big on the Cyclones this year. I got them finishing 3rd in the Big 12. I think Iowa, I've got them number 5 ahead of that middle pack in the Big Ten because they've got an easier schedule. But when it comes to talent, I think they belong right with all those other teams that I just said. But basically 11 Rutgers and number 5 Iowa, I think they're all real close. You got to put them somewhere. Cade McNamara, in his career, he's thrown for 3,600 yards, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 61% completion percentage. Been a good quarterback when he can play. Is he going to be healthy? If he is, Iowa's got a decent quarterback. LaShawn Williams, the running back, over 800 yards, 4.8 yards per rush. Luke Lachey, they're expecting big things out of their tight end. They always get big performances from their tight end position. He caught 10 balls last year. I think Luke is about to take another jump. We don't know about wide receiver Caleb Brown. Probably the number 1 returning wide receiver on the team. He just got caught up in a, I think it was a DWI. I'm not really sure the technical term. Maybe it was I don't know. He got arrested. And I think he might have, the reports are he might have had a false ID on him. He might miss a game or two early in the season. Hopefully Caleb Brown learns from that and can produce for the Iowa Hawkeyes here. The O-line, Iowa's offensive line reminds me of Nebraska's. They're old, but they haven't been that good. So I've got them with Nebraska on the old line. What makes Nebraska number 5 in the Big Ten and a threat to get into the top 4, especially with that schedule, is their incredible defense, the talent, the coach, Sebastian Castro, the man you see before you on your screen. Big time, all-time great. Castro, Jamar Harris, the secondary, of course, is going to be great. Their linebackers, outstanding. Jay Higgins, Nick Jackson. But Jay Higgins is the star. Castro is the star. Phil Parker, defensive coordinator, is the superstar. Iowa Hawkeyes, I've got them number 5 if they can get more juice out of that offense. If their special teams continue to dominate, they are a threat. They are a threat to get to the top 4. But number 4, the 3-time defending, reigning, undisputed Big Ten champion. The undisputed, reigning, national champion, the Michigan Wolverines. Number 4, defeated Alabama 27-20, defeated Washington 34-13. Sharon Moore is the new head coach. They start the season September 7th at home against Texas. September 21st, home against USC. Alex Orji, the quarterback, we'll see. There are times that I like him. There are times that I don't like him. In the spring game, there were times that I did like him. Donovan Edwards, he had a spectacular playoff and championship game. During the regular season, Donovan Edwards wasn't great. Blake Corum was, but Donovan Edwards wasn't. So he's gonna have to be the guy that takes the rock and run the ball over 20 times a game and produce. He only averaged 4.2 yards per rush last year. You got Mullins, who's a great backup running back, number 20. You're going to see him make plays in the backfield, coming out of the backfield, catching passes. Colston Loveland, of course, is the premier tight end in the country. First team All-American potential. He's absolutely brilliant. He caught 45 balls last year. He'll probably catch more this year. And you can't really talk about Michigan without talking about their defensive tackles. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Two NFL players. They're going to be first, second round draft picks in the NFL. Michigan Wolverines. Ernest Hausman, the linebacker. You're going to see him number 15. Keep an eye on Mr. Hausman. He came from Nebraska. He played at Michigan last year. He got his feet wet. 2 years ago, he was a promising linebacker from Nebraska. Dominated Big Ten play at the end of the year. He's ready to dominate this year. And of course, the man on the screen is Will Johnson, another NFL player, going to be drafted in the first or second round in the NFL. Will Johnson. If you've noticed, I posted a lot of defensive players when talking about the play for every team on your screen. There's a lot of great defensive players in the Big Ten coming back in 2024. So Michigan, number 4 again. The quarterback situation, it's a little bit iffy for me. New head coach, I could not put them ahead of number 3, Penn State. Penn State starts the season at West Virginia, August 31st. That's going to be a big game. We're going to learn a lot about Penn State, just like when we learned a lot about them when they beat Penn State at home at the beginning of last year. They're on the road against USC October 12th, on the road Wisconsin October 26th. They lost to Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl last year, 38-25. Drew Aller, in some ways, he played real good last year. He was great last year. In other ways, he couldn't make the play in the biggest games. And that's been the history of the Penn State quarterback position for quite a while. Drew Aller, you need to make the play in the biggest games. Over 2,600 yards, 25 touchdown passes, only 2 interceptions. Nick Singleton, the great running back, took a step back last year. They need him to perform better. Katron Allen has basically taken over RB1 for Penn State. A great running back duo, no question about it. Allen and Singleton, fabulous. They did lose 3 offensive linemen last year. They lost a spectacular left tackle. The wide receiver room, I got to tell you, it's a little weak. They're going to need to depend on Julian Fleming, the transfer from Ohio State. And I don't know. If Penn State had Penn State's wide receiver room and their young offensive line is going to be holding them back. The man on the screen is Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter. They moved him this year. They had him at linebacker. They officially moved him. He's going to be your rush end. He's going to be in the backfield all season long. Danny Dennis Sutton is the other very impactful defensive end coming from the other side. Penn State is going to get pressure on your quarterback. Penn State is going to get pressure on your quarterback. They've got grown men at the defensive tackle position. The deep secondary, Penn State's going to have a great defense. They had a great defense last year nationally and the Big Ten. But Penn State needs something to happen on offense. Somebody has got to step up that we're not expecting. That could be tight end Tyler Warren. He could be the guy this year. But they need big play. They need something on offense to emerge for Penn State to crack, to challenge the top two teams in the Big Ten. Number 2, the Oregon Ducks. First year in the Big Ten. 12-2 last year. They defeated Liberty in the Fiesta Bowl. They start this season September 7th. Texas Tech. They're on the road September 28th at UCLA. Running back Jordan James. Why are we not talking about Jordan James? I do not know why. Maybe it's because Oregon has so many players. So much talent. The guy on the screen before you is Tez Johnson. 86 catches. Over almost 1,200 yards. Tez Johnson. And then, of course, in the transfer, they got Evan Stewart, a great wide receiver from Texas A&M. He's going to explode in this offense. Absolutely explode. And the orchestrator of it all, Dylan Gabriel, the great quarterback. Oregon got Gabriel in the transfer portal. Jordan James, the running back, 700 yards, 759 yards, 7.1 yards per rush, 11 touchdowns. Oregon is going to feast. Oregon is going to have a great year. Oregon is going to challenge for the Big Ten championship. Oregon is going to the college football expanded playoffs. And then you got their tackles. Ajani Cornelius is going to be your first team All Big Ten right tackle. Josh Cornley, the left tackle, is going to be your first or second team. The defense, the defensive line, the interior is kind of a mystery for Oregon. If there is a unit there that we really don't know how they're going to produce, it's the interior of the defensive line at Oregon. They've got good linebackers, Justin Jacobs, Jeffrey Bassa. And of course, they filled up on transfers in the secondary. Jabbar Muhammad, Washington. You all know him. You all watched him last year. Oregon gets him in the portal. And then they picked up the great safety, 6-year man out of Kansas State, Savage. Colby Savage. Oregon is deep. Oregon is talented. Oregon Ducks are ready to rock and roll in the first year in the Big Ten. And of course, I should have them number 1. Of course, I should have them number 1. But I can't. I can't because the Buckeyes are absolutely stacked. 11-2 last year. Lost to Missouri, 14-3 in the Cotton Bowl. They play at Michigan State September 28th, at home against Iowa October 5th. There's some early games. The running back position, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. We don't have to say anything more. Henderson and Judkins, full stop. Don't have to say another word. They're running back. The backfield is loaded. Wide receivers, Emeka Ibuka, Carnell Tate. Ibuka had over 40 catches. You know how talented he is. Carnell Tate, he's a youngster. He's about to flourish. But the wide receiver before you on your screen is true freshman Jeremiah Smith. He electrified everybody in spring ball. He's going to dominate in his first year in the Big Ten. Jaws have been dropping in Columbus. Jeremiah Smith, the number 1 player out of the high school class. Watch for number 4. Holy smokes. Now, who is going to be the quarterback? It looks like it's going to be Will Howard. Will Howard led Kansas State to the Big 12 championship 2 years ago. Devin Brown, he's going to be your backup quarterback. He's more ready this year than he was last year. So the Buckeye quarterback room has some depth in the offensive coordinator, who's going to be utilizing all this talent. Offensive coordinator Chip Kelly. Holy smokes. And then you got defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. He's finally establishing his 4-2-5 defense. The Buckeyes in the defense, in the starters, out of the 11 starters, 10 of them are upperclassmen. The Buckeyes have grown men on defense, and the one guy who's not an upperclassman is the transfer from Alabama, the great safety Caleb Downs. You got Jack Sawyer. You got JT on the defensive end. You got Denzel Burke at cornerback. You've got defensive lineman Tyreek Williams. You know, the Buckeyes are absolutely... It's between the Buckeyes and the Bulldogs, in my opinion, for the national championship this year. We're going to have to keep an eye on the injuries and everything else that goes on during the college football season. The development, the growth of these players. But the Buckeyes, I've got them number 1 with a bullet. Ohio State and Oregon in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis the first week of December. Holy smokes. Let me take a look at the chat. Let me see what's going on here. How much heat am I getting for these picks? I do not know. I do not know. There is... Hold on one second. There is something wrong. Okay. Kind of something wrong with my chat here. But anyways, I think we can work through it. Vox, the last great Ohio State quarterback was Rex Kern. Ohio State immaculate. Should have been able to get a top-tier transfer quarterback. Big Ten picks heated up. Boy, oh boy, those Big 12 and ACC picks were shaky. The architect. Who is odd and who's even? Who's number 1 today, Greg? I forget that. You're right. I don't even remember my own rule. I gotta write it up, and I think odd is Ohio State because O and O odd Ohio State. I think that's how I remember it. So today the Buckeyes are number 1. Tomorrow it will be Georgia. Keep chopping. I stopped listening after you said Rutgers at 11. Oh, you guys. I'm gonna be Greg the Heater this year. Greg, I can't believe how low you picked my TCU Horned Frogs to finish in the Big 12 this year. You will learn better. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. I'm still getting hit on my Big 12 picks. Dan Miter would love to see West Virginia win against Penn State. Okay, I see that I'm getting dinged again. That's fine. Uh, okay, so um, let's quickly go through before we get to phone calls and before we talk about the ACC drama. Top 25 toughest places to play in EA Sports College Football 25. I know that picture is hard to see, so I went to the Athletic article that was written about it. EA Sports, they had it, they're having that home field advantage put into their game. So if you're on the road and you're playing in a harsh environment, your wide receiver, like the route of your wide receiver, the route that he's going to take might be squiggly lines that may disappear. All that is because you're playing in a very difficult environment. EA Sports, they ranked which stadium is the toughest. Here, number one, they've got Kyle Field, Texas A&M. Texas A&M, number one. I just cannot believe that. Number two, Bryant-Denny Stadium, Alabama. Number three, Tiger Stadium, LSU. I would have had LSU number one. Ohio Stadium, Ohio State number four. Sanford Stadium, Georgia, number five. Beaver Stadium, Penn State, number six. Camp Randall Stadium, number seven, Wisconsin. Oklahoma, Gaylord Family Memorial Stadium, Oklahoma, number 8. Number 9, Doak Campbell Stadium, Florida State. Number 10, the Swamp, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, Florida. Number 11, Austin Stadium, Oregon. Number 12, Memorial Stadium, Clemson. Number 13, Neyland Stadium, Tennessee. Number 14, Auburn. Number 15, South Carolina. The Big House is rated number 16. Holy smokes. That would be higher. Number 17, Lane Stadium, Virginia Tech. Number 18, Utah. Number 19, Texas. 20, Iowa, Kinnick Stadium. 21, Notre Dame. I don't know about that one. 22, Michigan State. Don't know about that one. Number 23, Arkansas. Number 24, Boise State. And number 25, Mississippi State, Davis Wade Stadium. And then in the article, they went on to say, what's the biggest surprise from the top 25? Sam Kahn talked about how Oregon's and Utah stadiums, they seem to be rated a little bit too low. Oregon fans make their stadium the loudest stadium in the country. And the Ducks are 28-1. They're in the last 5 years tied with Georgia. And Utah boasts the Muss, one of the loudest, rowdiest student sections out there. And the Utes are simply tough to beat at home, going 27-2 the last 5 years. Max Olson, I think many college football fans would be surprised to see any school other than LSU in the number one spot, and I agree. I agree with that. Audrey Snyder said Michigan Stadium is where? The Big House is at number 16, is mind-bending. I agree with that. Should be higher. Chris Vanini, I think the rankings are mostly good, save for a few oddities. Notre Dame at 21 is surprisingly low. I disagree. I think it's too high. Notre Dame, beautiful beautiful stadium, beautiful history, touchdown Jesus. But if you talk to Notre Dame fans themselves, a few years ago they changed the seating arrangement. There's a lot of wine and cheese fans that go to Notre Dame games. They're not all that loud. They're not all, and a lot of Notre Dame fans sell their tickets to other teams that are coming in to their fan. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to play at Notre Dame, but I don't think that's. I think it's a little bit high, and there are other people in the article that think it's a little bit low. I think it's a little bit too high. D5 Terps, Notre Dame's energy never seems to impress on TV. Yeah, it's a tough place to play. Notre Dame is usually very good. They win most of their home games. They've lost some home games lately that have been shockers. They lost to Marshall. They've had some. I think they're ranked okay, maybe a little bit too high. Danielle Dilly, Washington has the loudest games in college football history. The bias and disrespect is criminal. Okay. Then I'm going to talk about, again, before we get to your phone calls, I'm going to just quickly talk again about the, and I'm not saying this to upset people. I'm not saying this to be contrarian. I'm not saying this to ensure that I become the most unpopular person in America. I'm saying this because this is what I've been told. That's it. The Big Ten has not had any meaningful talks. They just haven't. They haven't. Now, if it comes to be that I was wrong about this, I will take the L. You guys know this. You know I will. But whatever happens down the road when it comes to the ACC implosion, the history books will write that the Big Ten did not engage meaningful engagement with any ACC school. And it's June 25th. They just haven't. Their legal counsel will not allow it. I know a lot of people hope that the Big Ten's been doing this. I know a lot of people from the Big Ten would like to expand with a lot of those good programs in the ACC, and they might. Florida State fans and Clemson fans would hope that the Big Ten has had high-level talks, and some of them would want to go to the Big Ten, and you know what? Someday they might. But those talks have not occurred. Big Ten will not allow it. Jim Phillips has warned the Big Ten, has warned the SEC. So it's not happening. Does Florida State sort of have a good idea of their valuation in the Big Ten eyes? Yeah, they do. So does Clemson. So does North Carolina. They all do. But they're not going to really know the numbers, just like Washington and Oregon did not know the numbers until those late, big-time, first-party talks, and then everybody has to decide what they're going to do, and the presidents vote yes or no. The presidents haven't voted in Clemson. The presidents haven't voted in Florida State. Fox Sports has not approved anything. There is no offer on the table, and that includes to North Carolina and Virginia and everybody else in the ACC. What I will open, is there the slightest possibility? Is there the slightest possibility that ESPN and ACC, Florida State, Clemson, and all the parties, including Boston College, Wake Forest, are they all talking, negotiating some coordinated situation? There is a chance that is happening. And that means ESPN has the power of moving things around. Of course, market allocation. I know all those arguments saying that that's not even happened. But I will give as I said on my X account, that there is a possibility of that happening. As ESPN, if ESPN and Jim Phillips are sitting down and ESPN is trying to get a new contract with Jim Phillips, a new one, a possible new one, that anticipates certain schools leaving the conference and certain schools staying in the conference, and a certain exit fee, payment fee for those conference schools that are leaving, and trying to arrange everything on the Titanic to make it so Titanic keeps floating, and the schools that want to get off the ship can get off the ship, pay whatever they're going to pay. All that could possibly be going on. But it's going to have to take the okay of Boston College. Everyone's going to have to acquiesce for those negotiations to even start going on right now. And I'm not saying that's happening, because I haven't heard it is. I'm open to that potential of that happening. I'm open to ESPN saying, okay, Florida State, Clemson, you're going to have to come with us. You're going to have to pay so much. You don't have to go to the courts anymore. You can have some certainty. ACC Phillips says, yes, is the amount you have to pay. You come to the SEC, North Carolina, Virginia, and then Boston College and all these other ACC schools know that they're going to have a certain TV. That might be all part of this TV contract that's being written up. Or it's not happening. I don't know. But it's been confirmed to me again by another source that the Big Ten will not talk to the ACC schools until they know when they can get their media rights. The date that they can grab them, Big Ten's got to know that date. And then that date will be run through their legal counsel. And if it's early enough, if it's soon enough, then the legal counsel will let the Big Ten talk. Until then, no. I don't know what else to say about it. Tracy FSU, wouldn't that be tampering by ESPN? Yes, it would be. There are problems with that scenario that I just laid out. No, ESPN owns the content of the ACC and the SEC. But it would be considered, Phillips would consider that tampering. But if Phillips acquiesce, if it's part of their, you remember ESPN has the ability to drop ACC's content. If it's part of those negotiations, can they make it a bigger part of the negotiations? It's a possibility. But yeah, you're correct, Tracy FSU. Florida State can reach out to the Big Ten as much as they want. Absolutely. And they have. And the Big Ten has said thank you. And there's been third-party talks, but there's no offer. There's no numbers. And again, if I end up being wrong, I will come out here and take a big L, and you guys can all come after me. But I got to tell you what I am being told by multiple sources. This is like, and it's not even a question. This is not like Big Ten ain't going to touch this. Until they know the date of when the school is leaving. And if it's an early enough date between the present and whenever date that, if there's not a whole lot of time between the two, then they'll start talking with the school. But it all runs through their legal counsel. It's how it works. When the Big Ten, before they met Washington and Oregon, in Washington, D.C., in New York City, it was run through their legal counsel. And they knew when Oregon and Washington were going to leave, right? They knew it was going to be August 1st, 2024 is when their current GOR ended. And it was soon enough to where the legal counsel said, okay, you can have first party talks. And when they did, when they were vetted and cleared, then there was no more talks until, no more real talks, until the Big 12 was able to crack the Pac-12 again. The Big 10 were not even going to go and grab Washington and Oregon unless the Big 12 cracked the Pac-12 again after Colorado. And it basically happened all on August 3rd. I don't know. And again, for the people who disagree, who absolutely are positive that Florida State absolutely know the deal that the Big Ten is going to give them, and Florida State is good with that, I tell you this. If you believe Florida State people who have been writing this stuff on the message boards, and whatever, if you believe Florida State has had meaningful talks with the Big Ten, then you believe Florida State has been lying in the courts. You believe Clemson has been lying in the courts. You can't have it both ways. You can't say Florida State and Clemson have had meaningful talks with the Big Ten and say they haven't been lying in the courts. So pick a side. For those who are telling you that Florida State has been sitting down with the Big Ten with meaningful talks, ask them the question, is Florida State lying in the courts then because they said they haven't been able to have meaningful talks? Do you think they're lying in the courts? Because I don't think Florida State and Clemson is lying. I don't think my sources are lying. I think there's a lot of hoping out there. I think there's a lot of wishing out there. And I don't blame anybody because Florida State is such a big, valuable brand. So I understand all that. But I got to tell you what is happening on the ground as far as I know. And that is what I got to tell you. Now I'm going to open up the phone lines. Now I'm going to open up the phone lines. Give me a call on my Big Ten predictions or anything else I've been talking about. 763-260-1333. Hold on here. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Let me know how wrong I got it with my Big Ten predictions. How wrong I got it when I say there's been no meaningful talks. How wrong I got it with my Big 12 predictions. Tell me how wrong I am. D5 Terps, Big Ten isn't passing on Florida State. That's a critical piece. I do not know that. I believe Florida State is they are on the Big Ten's candidate list. There is interest, but I can't even go that far.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate, the floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, how we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Gonna have to start off by disagreeing with you.
Beautiful.
About Iowa's placement on your rankings.
All right, I got him number 5. Where? Huh?
Good spot. It's
Yeah.
a good spot. And if they had to play Michigan, they might actually lose.
Yeah.
But they don't play Michigan.
Yeah.
And Michigan has a much tougher schedule.
Yeah.
And so I would actually probably lean with Iowa as number 4 for that reason. But I think it's absolutely fair to just look at the teams and say Michigan's probably the better team. I just think with, the situation as is there, departures, I think they're taking a step back. We'll see.
Yeah. And that's what I did with Iowa with the other 5 teams behind them.
Yeah.
I said Iowa's schedule, I got them number 5, but I couldn't do it with number 4. But go ahead.
Yeah, I have them as 10-2. I that Ohio State game, I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch that. That's going to be brutal, and I'm not going to want to judge their defense based upon what we see there. But in terms of the rest of it, I think they'll probably do like they did last season. They'll find one game where they find a way to lose, like they did with Minnesota. And so I give them that kind of a loss. But other than that, I think, before things kind of went off the rails with Washington, I had them losing that game when the schedule first came out. But I don't know now. Like, that Washington team, they could come out and they could be strong. And that could maybe be the second loss that I give them.
Yeah.
But that's at home, and I'm not quite sure what to think about Washington at this point, so we'll see. But otherwise, the only other one that I looked at that I thought, you might want to give them a little bit stronger is Rutgers. But, Rutgers is going to have to show it to get a lot of people to really give them respect. But I think
the Greek rifle is going to have to show it to me.
Yeah, and that's fair. And then Rutgers fans, you're just going to have to deal with it this year. But I do think Rutgers is probably going to surprise some folks this year. We'll see. But and the big story, the Florida State story for the Big Ten and whatnot. I agree with you that I'm sure they have not told Florida State, yes, if you get out, you're in. But I do think that they've probably been Florida State, and that during those talks they say, well, this is where we see you guys, this is where we see a value, this is where. And so I tend to think that there's probably enough information that has been given that I would say Florida State probably has an idea of where they stand with the Big Ten. I just don't think you go to the level that they have gone unless you have some kind of an idea. And everything that they've done and said, to me, shows Big Ten interest, not really SEC interest. So that's where I think that word has come from, because they did this well before Clemson. Clemson just did that lately when they got the new valuation from the CFP. So, I can appreciate that your sources are saying that and that you're going with that and you're being very diligent in that. And once again, I could be wrong too, and maybe Florida State doesn't go there. But if you're looking to add 2 more schools, Florida State is the value bringer, right? I mean, if you're trying to get the networks to pay for 2 more schools in this environment that we're in right now, Florida State's the value bringer. So I think that they feel pretty confident that if they do get themselves out, if they do get their rights, that whether it's been told to them or not, that the Big Ten is looking to go coast to coast. It's in their sales pitch. It's in their marketing. And no, Rutgers does not bring that. I mean, it's great. We like, but they need the Southeast. They need a Southeast contingent, and
I'm sorry. Pounding Sand in the chat room says, "You are now super washy on Florida State. What happened to Chalk? Chalk. What we ripped down the odds on May 28th, May 23rd, really, but May 28th we officially did it. We were told the Florida State Clemson Chalk. There is no. There is. It's a long. It makes sense. It makes sense. I can understand why people are speculating on it. It makes sense. Florida State to the Big Ten makes sense, but there is nothing real there, in to where I should be putting them as chalk. It could become real. Florida State's a big brand, no question about it. But if that were to happen, we got a long ways to go for that to happen. And the Big Ten, it starts with the largest dominoes first, and I think it's immaculate speaking, plug on spin cycle. Guys, I'm just telling you, I'm telling you, we're not close to that. We might be close to Florida State. We might be close to Florida State getting out, like a settlement. We might be close to Florida State having this big old orchestrated thing with ESPN, and maybe they're going to the SEC. But if Florida State got out today on a settlement, paying $300, $450 million, whatever, or if that's what they have to get out, they will not sign the check until they know where they're going. We're not looking at a Florida State to Big Ten 2 days from now. That's not where things are. So I'll take the L, guys, but I got to tell you what I've been being told, and it is as rock solid as it possibly can get. So I got to tell you, if I'm the only person standing on the one corner, I'm fine with it. Go ahead, Immaculate. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. And I'm cool with like what you're saying in terms of like you're just not coming out and saying like this is guaranteed. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed either. I just think in terms of strategizing, the Big Ten's not done at 18. Like they're just not. At some point, they're getting at least 2 more schools.
Yep.
So to me, I'm not going off any type of source or anything. Just me. I'm saying I wouldn't give it 100% for Florida State to Big Ten because you're right. Like at some point, the SEC might push back hard and they might roll out the full red carpet, and ESPN might do something too. But I think one of those 2 conferences, either the Big or the SEC, is okay. We'll go 99.9%. So as long as that battle's still going on, you probably can't give 100% chalk to the Big Ten for FSU.
I can't.
And sources are telling you certain things, and you're sticking with that, and that's kind of what you do, and that's your show. So I respect that 100%. It's just just in a chat way, I can say a lot more. And to me, I think Big Ten, that grab would be absolutely necessary for them to really be taken seriously in the South. Yeah, you have to have one of those top tier brands in the South if you're going to go to the South. And to me, that's Florida State. They have more staying power even than Clemson. So we'll see how that goes. But no, I appreciate your sharing what you're being told, even when you're getting hell for it. So
that's what I'm here for.
So we'll see. I'm sure you're about to get some calls now. That should be interesting. I'll get out of here so you can
got
get that. But
appreciate it. Thank you, Immaculate. Great call. Kerry Gold knows, why did Florida State Athletic Director Alford says he plans on speaking plenty of times in Chicago this summer with the wink? I'm sure. We did it. Hold on 1 second.
Call from
Crab Cakes and Football.
Crab Cakes and Football. Can you hold 1 second?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Well, we did. First of all, thank you for your super chat, Kerry. Thank you for your incredible generosity to this channel. I do appreciate it. We did give clues on a certain situation that happened in O'Brien's in Chicago, but that wasn't with the Big Ten that Florida State was involved in. And if Alford was meeting with the Big Ten on that summer day, he definitely would not have leaked that at all. So that was not a Big Ten situation that Florida State was delving in Chicago. Again, I'm not, I think people are, I'm not saying you are, Kerry, but other people are misinterpreting what I'm saying. I'm not taking a shot at Florida State's value. I'm taking a shot at what people perceive as the process that's going on right now. I know a lot of people in the chat are saying, a lot of people are being, Greg, these lawyers are talking. They're talking. They're not leaving a paper trail. They're not talking. Big Ten is not talking. I'm gonna crab cakes and football. Give me another 30 seconds here, please.
Yes, sir.
This is not my first rodeo. I know, not my first rodeo. I'm not just saying this to be contrarian. It'd be easy for me to blend in with everybody else. I did not blend in with everybody else when I said USC called the Big Ten in March. I got absolutely crushed. Los Angeles Times did an article on us. I was out there alone. When I said Washington and Oregon were going to come next before the Big Ten went to the Southeast, I got crushed. When I said Colorado's the tip of the spear and it was a hop of action, and then I said on May 8th that the Pac-12 got a shot to the solar plexus on May 8th because I knew there was a May 7th meeting between Big 12 and Colorado. I do not say things lightly here. Yes, we did some flip-flopping. That you could criticize me on, no question about it. But I'm not saying things lightly. Florida State could end up in the Big Ten. They could end up in the SEC. But we are not close to that forming yet. You can make a prediction. You can speculate. It's all logical. You're probably going to be right. But I cannot put it up on the board because there's stuff I know. We're not down that road. The key is not even in the ignition. And you know what's going to happen today? I'm going to get raked across the coals on message boards I've never even heard of. And that's okay. But I just want to be clear. I don't want there to be misinterpretations because a lot of people rag on me on things I've never even said. So I want you to rag on me on the things that I actually say. And that is that we're not even started down that road yet. I'm just being as clear as possible. Crab cakes and football. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I think I can speak for a lot of the people in your community saying that you're one of the most honest people out there, and you take the L when you need to take the L and you give it to us straight. Yes, things change, like the tearing down of the odds books and everything else, and that happens in life. But don't let anybody ever tell you you're a liar or dishonest, because you're not. And I just want you to know that we appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
With that being said, why are you got my Turks 12, man? Come on.
Well, look.
I know we got a quarterback. Controversy-ish. I still think Locks is loyal, and he's still going to go with Cam Eds, Billy Edwards. I think MJ Morris is going to be their backup until he proves he can take the job away from the other two. But I still think we have a pretty good quarterback room, and with the running backs and the tight ends and a great defense, I think we can probably win a lot more of these games than what the people are giving us credit for. So I'm listening.
I just have too much question. It's too big a question mark on the quarterback position. It's kind of like Rutgers with the 11. But I like Kemby. I like Manungai. Those are great running backs. Both teams. But again, when you're comparing one to the other, now, when I do a 16-team prediction order finish in the conference, I get dinged by about 14 fan bases. When I do an 18-team conference prediction, I'm going to get dinged by about 16 or 17. That goes with the territory. So everybody says I got their teams too low, but if I put them up, then I'm going to get, people are going to ding me from other fan bases.
But I'm
Terrapins
looking at,
have a grown front seven. They are grown men. And I think that might take Maryland some places. We'll see. If they get quarterback production, then my prediction is going to be wrong.
But I look at the schedule for everybody, and I have them all written down. It's out of my reach right now. I know Michigan's got it bad this year. I think Penn State's got it pretty rough. I mean, you got a lot of these teams that are going to take more losses than what they're used to because of the rough schedule. Maryland doesn't have it that bad. We got USC at home. We're on the road at Oregon, and we got Penn State at the end of the year. So in Iowa just before that. Those are our 4 games. We don't have Ohio State. We don't have Michigan. So if we just continue to find a way to beat Michigan States and even your Golden Gophers, and we might take an additional loss in there or whatever, but I still think we're going to be better off than what you're predicting. But as for Florida State, if someone's talking, it's some low-level guy that doesn't have a position in the company somewhere. I don't think they're talking out loud. They can't, like you said. But, I really would like to see Florida State join the Big Ten because I think that would finish the strategy off. Of course, everybody wants Notre Dame. But, the way I think Florida State get in, and that still might get in, is if UNC and Notre Dame join. So if they go, hey, we're in, then that might block out Florida State. And I don't even know if that would happen. So that's all, man. I just wanted to give you a little confidence boost, rag you about my Terrapins a little bit, and give my little 2 cents about Florida State. So
you
have
got
yourself a good day.
Crab case from football. Right. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Okay, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and open up those notifications. There is a chance that we may come on live again later tonight. I wanted to get this show in on the Big Ten. My predictions my predictions of order finish. We did the Big 12. We've done the ACC, and next Monday we're going to do the SEC, and then the week after that we're going to do G5 conferences and Notre Dame. I wanted to get it in today. I know I promised I was going to get it in yesterday, but me and the wife, we went swimming, and so I took another day off. I took Sunday and Monday off. I rarely ever do that. I rarely take 2 days off in a row here at Peek Around the Corner. But I wanted to get this done. I wanted to make sure get this done. I wanted to clear the tables. I believe there's more news coming down the road. So if we may have to do a live show later on tonight. If not, definitely tomorrow. So keep your head on a swivel. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe. Follow us on X at Flug Empire. And please stay with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we cover this news and everything else. I want to thank Kerry Gold Knowles for his donation. I appreciate it, helping us keep the lights on. I want to thank all the great comments in the chat room, especially the ones who disagree with me, but who disagree with me with class. I do appreciate it. I know most people disagree with what I'm saying. And that is okay. Appreciate the phone calls. I appreciate all of you. We got to sign off here. I've got to pick up the wife. But later on tonight, we may do another live show. So keep your head on a swivel. Buckle up. Brace for impact. Until next time. From all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.